speaking of the war machine getting out of control, I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. On the one hand, you have many European countries that are ramping up to go to war with Russia. At the same time, many of those countries are having their governments replaced with a more conservative government that doesn't want to go to war. Is this the pendulum trying to swing towards war, and America, or not America, citizens trying to push it back to peace?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and let's be clear, when we talk about countries like France ramping up, or Britain ramping up, they don't have a lot to ramp with. Okay, I mean, France France is sending has sent some soldiers to do training, and as I've said before, train them in what? How to surrender? I mean, the last war that the French were involved in, that was quote a victory, was the end of World War II, and they were tailing along on the coattails of the Brits and the Americans. So these countries like Germany, France, Britain, that are making all these bellicose statements and threats, they don't actually have the number of people in the military or the actual equipment to send. Now, the French are supposedly trying to maintain some of the artillery pieces in Ukraine. But at the same time, as you correctly noted, the average person in the street is going, we don't want to go to war with Russia. What? No, 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 no. And it is, these countries are, NATO is in the process of dissolving. It just doesn't realize that it's dead. And why do I say that? Because just this last week, Turkey said, hey, we want to join BRICS. And BRICS is going, okay, come on in. Now, Turkey's been trying for 25 years to get into the EU. And the EU keeps coming up with a new excuse not to have them. You know, it's basically like the old days when the black guy wanted to join the all-white country club. Yeah, sorry, they never find a way to let him in. That's what they've done to Turkey. Complete disrespect. And here's Turkey, its role in NATO. It's got the second largest army in NATO after the United States. And it's already said, hey, you go into war with Russia, count us out. We're out. And what Putin is doing very smartly, using Lavrov and others, is they are cultivating closer relationships with both Turkey and Iran. And it's noteworthy that Turkey and Iran themselves are negotiating to have a closer working relationship. The United States is going to be completely shut out in the Middle East. And so what you're seeing is Europe is making itself increasingly irrelevant. The fact that Russia now, along with China, India, and then the United States, those four countries represent the top four economies in the world in terms of gross domestic product, measured by purchasing power parity. And essentially that just means with your local currency, what can you buy? How good of a standard of living can you have? Russia has surpassed Germany. Russia has surpassed Japan. And Russia is continuing to grow from an economic standpoint.
They're also making babies.
Yeah, and
right?
they're encouraging people to come there, which you've had several families, American, Australian, Canadian, which have six or more children, who have moved there because they see Russia as family friendly. You know, I'm watching, and you're trying to explain to the Russians how crazy we are in this country. You know, June's Gay Pride Month. Oh, we're going to be gay, gay, and all this obsession with homosexuality, the obsession with drag queens. You know, big fat ugly guys dressed up as women, pretending to be women, reading sexualized stories to children. I mean, the Russians really, they look at you like You've landed from a planet from Mars, and they don't know even what to think about it. And then all the transgender nonsense. I mean, we're really at a point in this country where we need to stand up and push back both against the transgender and the gay movements, the LGBTQ. Got to push back because it's not healthy. It's not going to promote families. And that's what they're promoting in Russia. In fact, most countries in the world promote and believe in traditional families, not this, freak show that we're putting on here in the United States. And that's one of the reasons that these countries are flocking to Russia and to China and eschewing a relationship with us. You saw the other day, the Saudis said, hey, petrodollar, goodbye, we're not using that anymore. Huh? That's been our bread and butter now for 50 years.
Yeah.
That's gone. Gone. And again, our leaders haven't thought through the economic implications of that for life here in America.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wondered why the LGBTQ2SA plus community gets a full month, but mothers only get 1 day. Like that, something seems a little backwards there.
Yeah.
Okay, two final questions. I really appreciate you coming on. I read from our colleague, Colonel Douglas McGregor. He says Biden is moving us closer to war with Russia each day. Is that because we're not doing any diplomacy and we're trying to use the might of NATO and the U.S. military and the military-industrial complex to make war machines? Or why do you think Colonel McGregor is saying that?
Oh, it's exactly what you said. There's no diplomacy. I heard that directly from the deputy foreign minister of Russia. That he says, "Who do we talk to, and what do we talk about?" Because the United States has made it very clear that we have nothing to discuss with the Russians other than they got to get out of Ukraine and let us take over Ukraine. It's not going to happen. The attitude in the West, our policies become one of three things. You either do what we want, or we're going to put economic sanctions on you, or we'll go to war with you, or we'll run a covert action program like a color revolution to subvert your government. That's what we do. Notice, though, that the rest of the world, and that's one of the messages I came away with from St. Petersburg, with 136 other countries there, they are fed up with the United States and its bullying. They are sick and tired of the United States thinking it has the right to dictate, the laws that they have and what they do and the relationships they have with other countries. Remember, it was just about 2 months ago, that Angola passed a law basically banning homosexuality because they wanted to promote families, heterosexual families. The United States sanctioned them. How dare you? Angola basically said, Uncle Sam, you can go shove it where the sun doesn't shine. You're not going to tell us how we're going to raise our families and our children. You don't get to do that. In fact, look at your own society. Look in the mirror. Fix your own problems before you go out and lecture the rest of the world. So what McGregor is talking about is the decisions Biden is taking. They believe that the Russians are weak and cowardly, and accordingly that the United States can do whatever it wants to do, and there will not be any consequences. Based upon my experience, my conversations, my knowledge, that's one of the stupidest things the Biden administration has ever done, because it is endangering the people of America.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to Colonel McGregor. I remember him telling me, I don't know if it was recorded or off recording, but it's nothing secret. He just said, that the United States used to be well known for its diplomatic abilities, and now Congress hides behind the U.S. military. Do you know, is the Biden administration having any communication with Putin? And also in terms of France, I know Emmanuel Macron, he used to go to Russia and try to reason with Putin. And now I just wonder if maybe NATO has pressured him to not do diplomacy anymore. Any thoughts on that?
Well, Macron shot himself in the foot in terms of trying to do diplomacy with the Russians. They saw him as a duplicitous little twerp that he is. That he would say one thing, do the opposite, and then became very bellicose and talked about sending, not just talking about it, but sending French troops into Ukraine. On the diplomatic front for the United States, it's equally pathetic. We're not. The one who's probably the most engaged is Bill Burns, the CIA director. I don't think he's had any direct contact with Putin because the Putin and his cabinet's view is, what is there to talk about until the United States comes in with a concrete proposal, and the proposal has to be this: we're no longer going to push to bring Ukraine into NATO. Number one, we will withdraw and stop doing military exercises on your border. Number two, okay, now we have something to talk about. But until they do that, I think Burns has been in contact with his Russian counterpart and trying to deconflict some things. He may even have had contact with Lavrov because Burns served as ambassador to Moscow back in 2008. So he does have some contacts and can deal with them. But apart from that, no communication.
Okay. Another thing that I wanted to try to understand is, and I have Colonel McGregor coming on next week, but he's posted on Twitter to pay attention to General Mark Milley's connection to the January 6th Capitol breach. I guess Milley was telling China, hey, if Trump makes any kind of moves, I'll let you know ahead of time. Behind the scenes, Mark Milley was trying to strip the commander-in-chief of any military authority, any National Guard authority, undermining him. And then now, just in the last few days, he was having secret communications with Susan Rice, who was under President Obama. Anything to add to that? It's all very fresh, so I don't fully understand it all.
Yeah, Milley's a traitor. I mean, he betrayed his oath as an officer, and he was simply, acting like any third world banana general that tries to overthrow an elected government. He violated the Constitution. He should be court-martialed, prosecuted, and thrown in jail, in my view. So he was complicit in all of this because they should have, there should have been a much stronger response, and we've already seen that. Excuse me for a second. Come on here. Sorry.
It's okay.
We've already seen that Nancy Pelosi was doing everything in her power not to accept the President Trump's offer to come into to bring the National Guard in. So she was doing everything. This was a setup. This was a total, complete setup.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more connection to Nancy Pelosi and Mark Milley than we've been told in the last 3 years. And I look forward to the truth making its way to the surface like it always wants to do. Larry, thank you so much for coming on, spending time with us, helping us understand. If people want to follow you, is sonar21.com still the best place?
That's the best place, sonar21.com. Thanks.
Okay. I will make sure to put that. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Steve.